Well, good evening, and we're continuing down this road of protecting the intimacy and developing deep relationships that have a covenant to them, that they last forever. And and today it seems as though relationships are somewhat disposable, right? We have what they say, you have friends for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And so we can discard these relationships unless they're a lifetime relationship. And the only way they're really going to be a lifetime relationship is if we agree on everything. And I just don't think that's a healthy perspective. So the core that we're trying to dial in on here is that it's all about love. And that may sound really gooey and syrupy to you, but love places us in a position to listen without drawing some kind of a conclusion before we know what's going on. You see, love defines our heart. If you think about it, most people want to create some kind of an accomplishment without really digging into process. And process is culture. Culture is family. Family is kingdom. If you leave the subject of family, you've left the subject of kingdom. If you leave the subject of kingdom, you've left the subject of community. And if you left community, you've left the subject of process. And you can't have accomplishment without this foundation. If you do, I will promise you it's temporary and short term. And trust me, I know this just from the ups and downs and the waves and the ins and outs of my own life. That without a commitment to a love basis family relationship. You see, Jesus was asked by his disciples, teach us how to pray. And what did he say? Our Father, who art in heaven, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. So there's two major components I want to draw out, just the first part of that. One, my Father. That means I am the Son. I am drafted. I am the adopted. I no longer have an orphan spirit. I no longer deal with a fatherlessness. I know who my mighty Father is. I know where my power, my strength, my resources come from, okay? I know his perspective of me. So I know that I'm family, and the kingdom is a family, and everybody in this universe is our family. And if we discard people because of issues and damage, then we're really violating the covenant of what love and family really is all about. So really, the very important thing we have to grab a hold of is we cannot desire accomplishment without being committed to understanding culture. Because I don't want to see any one of you go out there and build a dynamic organization in your church, in your business, in your life, and have it fall apart because you weren't committed to the concept of community, and community being family, and family being kingdom. And the core of that is a process of how do we stick together. You see, when the revelation of your sonship saturates your heart, when you begin to truly understand who you are, then you will look at everybody else from the same lens. If not, you look through the lens of man's expectation. And man's expectation is measured on what? Results, numbers, profit, looks, I don't know, things that we can measure with our eyeballs, but very rarely measured with our heart. And so if we can allow the reality that we are adopted sons and that he is in fact our Father, right, as the prayer goes into great detail, then we can begin to move to on earth as in heaven. You see, most people have a earth to heaven mindset as compared to a heaven to earth mindset, meaning they want to use earth's rules as a way to get to heaven. That would be what we call the law, and I could go into great detail, but I won't. But we want to use man's principles as a way to have a higher principle with God. When our earth to heaven flips the script and says it's all about the Father. It's all about the intimacy. It's all about protecting the heart of the Father. And when you know how much he loves you, our life becomes a response to that. And so we then begin to let that saturate our heart, and everything else begins to, well, your life just releases a grace about it. You release into the atmosphere a peace, a safety, an openness, a vulnerability that we're committed to each other to find solutions, not judgment. And when the fit hits the shan, if you will, and things get tough, what we're going to dig in is who are you and whose are you. And anytime we start seeing people or ourselves acting outside of the truth of our sonship, we know that they're acting out of character. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. They may have done some things that are unacceptable, but they're not unacceptable as a human being, right? One time I had a fish hook go right through my thumb when I was fishing. And I looked and I had this huge fish hook going through my thumb. And the metal of the hook had entered me. But not for a second did I think that I was a fish hook. In other words, sin may enter someone's life, but I'm not going to look at them as sin. I'm going to say something has entered their life, and we need to cut the barb and get that out and remove that piece and then recognize who you truly are. That's the saturation of the sonship. That's where identity begins to create such a release of grace into everything you do. And we're talking about protecting relationships. We're talking about developing culture. We're talking about a culture of honor, a community that is sustainable for multiple lifetimes. That if we're going to build something that intends to last for multi-generations, then we need to have this mindset that people are not disposable, that numbers and profits and growth are not more important than the principles of sonship and identity and grace and truth. And if we can operate from that position, then the anxiety drops, therefore the love increases. And when the love increases, connectivity can really begin to happen, and we can really begin to look at those issues that differentiate us, that separate us, that cause anxiety, and release them, because anything that is not good is not of God. Anything that is not of good does not honor the truth of who we are. And so we'll dig into that in future chapters here. But I want you to think about the reality of love is the key. His love to us first, then our love to him. How much he loves us, our life becomes a reflection of that. And then trying to focus on developing culture and community. Because if you try to create achievement without process, you're going to be disappointed. The world cannot stand when a pauper becomes a king. So we want to make you a prince, so as you become a king, you can handle the truth. God gives us the acorn instead of the oak tree because he wants us to grow with the seed and the blessing. Otherwise, we may not be able to handle the oak tree. God's a gentleman, and he's going to protect us and never place anything on us that somehow might lead to our demise. I hope that helps out. I love you. We'll see you very soon.